Mhm.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's move on to approving our agenda. Anybody got anything you want to change or?
I ask a question with regard to the consent agenda.
Yes, you can.
The Luke England one day, is that for the, Mark's on here someplace.
Yes.
Is that for the sheriff's department for Spring Grove? Or,
No, that's, it was for mandatory EVOC training, which I mistakenly thought there was a course in Rochester at the end of October, but it was the end of September.
Okay.
So we had to get him to that EVOC training course prior to his start date. Otherwise, the next course that would be available would have been spring of 2023.
when you say we, he's Houston County?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just the
because the
one.
EVOC training is mandatory for all deputies.
So we hired him, but he's not hired yet, so we got to put him on the 67 day for the 1 day deal?
Yes.
Until date of hire, okay.
Yes.
I
Until
got it.
date of fire.
All right, I get it.
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Changes anybody wants to discuss before we?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Okay, we've had a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need a motion to approve our board minutes from September 27th, 22.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the previous board minutes. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment. Public comment. All right, let's move on. Appointments, we have none. Consent agenda, everybody feel comfortable with that?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
It's good to me, I'll second. We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Action. Consider approving a recommendation by the Parks Committee to approve the increase to the 2023 Wildcat schedule. Donna. Brian?
Yes, commissioners, this is, what the committee had talked about, increasing the rates for Wildcat for the 2023 schedule. And, the seasonal rates would be increased by $100. So that would go from $1,500 to $1,600 per season. The primitive 10 sites would increase by $5, so they go from $20 to $25. And the electric sites would be increased by $10. And that would go from 40 to 50. And the monthly sites by $25. So that'd go from $425 to $450. And we haven't sent out the seasonal letters yet, so as soon as we find out what the board approves today, we will send out the seasonal letters who people are waiting for because they're so happy with their sites and pleased with everything. So they want to get their month or their seasonal payment in. So we will move forward with that as soon as the board
From a committee point of view, after discussion, we're still relatively inexpensive compared to other places. So I think the increases are warranted. And they aren't exorbitant by any stretch of the imagination.
Also, there's a lot of discussion about improvements and, keeping things up. Second bathroom eventually, or just improving on what we got. It takes money, so. And I can speak that this is about 800 less than where I'm at.
All of that said, I'll make a motion to approve the Parks Committee increases to the 2023 Wildcat schedule pricing.
I'll second it.
We had a motion and a second. to approve the increases in the Wildcat schedule.
So are we losing money, or what was the reason for the increases?
No,
Projects.
no, we're not losing money at all. It's just that, we felt that we haven't increased the rates for quite a while. And I know that some people do make comments when they even call us and tell us that they think the rate is like extremely reasonable for the camping sites that are available. So, we brought forward to the committee to discuss and with some research done too, it seems like all of the campgrounds are probably a lot higher than what Wildcat is. And like Dewey mentioned too, we want to make improvements to make it the nicest campground you could find. And it's always clean and very nice. And we're striving to keep that up with the Wildcat. And I think with a little increase like this, it'll help just to even more to make improvements.
The fact that Wildcat still owes the Houston County General Fund is about 110,000, Carol. So they owe that, and if we want to make improvements like adding bathrooms on the south end, doing work on the southern boat ramp, additional revenue would pay that off, and it's going to be a while before we get paid back in the general fund anyway. So I think it's warranted.
Okay, any more discussion?
How much more is it going to create? Got an estimate?
Well, on the permanent sites, it's going to generate about $3,700. On the temporary sites, it's kind of hard to say. You don't know how many are going to be, but between $5,000 and $6,000 a year.
Not a lot, but something.
Can't get much for 5,000. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approving a resolution number 22-53, active transport infrastructure program resolution of support.
Yeah, so I have been working with the city of La Crescent here. I don't know if you recall, several months ago, came to the board, talked about the curb extensions on South 4th at the intersection of South 4th and South 6th Street along County 6, which is Elm Street in La Crescent. The board and myself kind of weren't real big fans of how the original layout was. After that, got Teresa and Dewey and myself met with the city and several representatives at the city, looked at kind of shrinking down how much those bump outs impact the actual roadway, the traffic out there, shrunk down that scope a little bit. So the city would like to kind of work on pursuing funding to go out there and to install some curb extensions. In order to do that, before they can apply, they need to submit, essentially it's a pre-application to the state with resolutions approved on those entities involved. So both the city and the county saying, yes, if you give us funding through the active transportation, we'll continue proceeding with our projects. So they don't want to have entities apply and then after they get funded, back out and say we're no longer interested. The actual public entities didn't approve it, so they want to have a resolution in advance. So that's what this is a resolution to be approved to apply, and then if we receive funding, then we'll have additional design and another approval needed by the board.
Is it premature to see if we talked about reducing. We don't have any plans yet. This is strictly to get the funding started and then plans to come later.
Correct.
Do you do the plans? Does your office do the
The
plans?
city is working on doing the plans. I've been told that they have plans that are fairly far along. I just haven't seen them. I asked for a copy and I didn't get it yet. So I would probably see the plan before it gets submitted here in a week to the state, but I haven't seen them yet.
What's the county's participation?
That isn't determined yet. Based on the previous agreements we had with the city was split 50-50. So in this case, the project cost might be in that 50 to 80,000, maybe $100,000 ultimate cost. If it gets funded 80% by this funding, that might reduce the county's cost down to $5,000 or something. So it shouldn't be a huge dollar amount in the end. We can look at using our state aid funds to help pay for that instead of local levy as well.
The advantage of bump outs is for safety of the kids. And as we talked about before, that was extreme before when they had those temporaries there, and we got a chance to have a visual on it. I believe that it's for the benefit of the kids going to school that still do walk. The lineup of cars taking their kids to school is really doubled, but I feel that we should go ahead with this because it'd be for the benefit of safety of the kids. It affects 2 intersections, 4th and 6th. And I know there's discussion of changing some fencing along the west side of the school property so that they won't go across that 5th, which is in between. So I move to approve this resolution to support from the state.
I'll second it. I agree with you, and they do use it when they cross over to the swimming pool all summer. And this will keep them on 6th Street, a safer intersection.
Well, you're dealing with young people walking and young people driving.
Walking.
Young kids driving.
Can we see a design that's really, this is fine. Can we see a design so you know how much it's actually going to shrink?
Well, I hope it shrinks.
Yeah, they did kind of mark out how it was going to shrink, so.
Yeah.
To everybody's approval.
This isn't for approving any plans or anything. This
No,
is
this
just
is
to get
just
out.
for the
Yeah, so-
funding.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll have an opportunity to go through and modify the design. The state's not approving the design at this point. It's just
Funding,
conceptual. Do they want to approve this project?
right.
Any more questions?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Two. Motion carried. Discussion. Project scope and limits of the west parking lot.
I assume all the markings out on the street and the parking lot were requested by you.
Yes. You want to come up here or you want to? Yes, so the west parking lot over at the west of the building that we're in, we are looking at reworking that parking lot, repaving it so it has some good pavement on it. And I put on a agenda request today to come here and have some discussion on what we really want to have for a scope of the project. So kind of the limits, what we want to do, show the full board what the current layout is before we get into full-blown design. So we have done some survey work to figure out where the underground utilities are, to lay stuff out to know overall footprint of everything, along with did some soil borings out there to know how thick of pavement section we have. So the existing pavement out there is generally 3.5 inches on average. Some areas a little bit thicker, some areas a little bit less. The area on that roadway just to the west of the courthouse where it has some rutting out in the middle of that roadway, that has less pavement on it than the other ones. So we think that overall, there shouldn't be anything major need to be done to the base. Just take the existing pavement off, reshape everything to drain how we want it to do, and put down 3.5 or 4 inches of bituminous back when we're done. So what I want to have discussion on is kind of really limits of the project. What we want to do, and kind of show everyone how the layout is shaping up. So if we start on East Washington Street up here on the north end where my cursor is, if we go to this area, go through the parking that's on the west of that, what that does, it would eliminate all the pavement that's older out there. The stuff from that point farther to the east was already done around the time that the courthouse or the new jail was built. So that would be a good location to end the project, would be at that location. Pavement in this roadway is not quite as bad a shape as some of the other areas, but I think it's still well worth doing that at this time. This parking area in this location, there's some water puddles and areas where the wheels are kind of settled into the pavement over time. So we'd like to redo that. So as we work.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we walked, Brian was real good to walk the area a couple of times with us, probably more than that. And we pointed out to make sure that we identified all the challenged areas we have in the winter where we have refreeze and puddling. So a lot of, Brian's taken all of that into consideration with regards to this area over there as well as up front, because we have some real low lying areas where we've had people slip, some fall. And they're just very problematic and difficult to keep up with in the wintertime. So I just wanted to put that in.
As we work our way around, trying to keep this tree and this green space in here, extend the sidewalk down onto the north end of the parking lot that's currently handicap parking. Move the curb that's in front of the handicap area a little bit closer to the building, move it about 2 feet closer to the building, provides places for, generally this would be county vehicles parking in here once we're done. That way those vehicles don't stick out into the streets as much. Shift the sidewalk that goes along Washington Street farther to the north by about 6-7 feet. That would line this sidewalk up by the front doorway. The city of Caledonia has already approved that shift. There will not be parking on the south side of the roadway once we get done, parking just along the north side. So we eliminated a few parking stalls there, but in doing so, this gets lined up with the front edge of the doorway. Kind of sidewalk coming out the front door so you don't walk out that main entrance onto a street right away. Cut off the access between here. The total number of parking stalls within the parking lot would become roughly 47 stalls, which is about 10 more than what we currently have. Put the handicap parking up right up against the building. So walk up onto the sidewalk right into the building. One entrance down similar location to what we currently have on the south side, southwest side of the parking lot. And then look at maybe redoing the curb a little bit, entrance between the two parking lots, make it parallel the full way. Some of this can need to be redone anyway to get the water to drain out properly once everything gets redone. Move this inlet here a little bit from where it's currently at, not very far, and then add a second inlet down farther to the south. And then also, ideally, I think it'd be nice to have a couple lights out in the middle of the parking lot. Based on the lighting that's being done over in the current parking lot to the south of the courthouse, they have one light about every 7 stalls. So I think 2 lights out in here, and we can work with a lighting company to figure out exact location for lighting. 2 lights would do a good job lighting up this parking lot because the existing light is right up here. There's only 1 light. That's going to need to be moved or eliminated. There's a pedestal that's going to need to be either eliminated, or they may put in a box on the ground with a manhole cover on it with other utility access from that. Already spoke with the city about that some as well. I think overall that's a general overview of what we've kind of been looked at so far. Overall we're looking at doing is having the parking drain from the east to the west, sheet flow across. So that is what we have for the scope currently. Very preliminary design estimate is roughly $300,000 for this work. Depending on what actually happens as we get further into design, that might go up or down. But that's what we're looking at ballpark for cost at this time.
I think the lights in the middle of the parking lot will be more advantageous as for us, for not only from a safety perspective, but also from a security perspective because of allowing us to see our cameras to be able to actually pick up things a little easier.
One other thing I kind of skipped over is we do have in the plan where it shows a future vestibule at the front entrance area. You know, 4 by 8 foot vestibule area to kind of fix up that entryway and still have sidewalk to get around that's handicap accessible. So right now when that door opens, there's a lot of wind that blows through, a lot of air that gets lost. So if anything wanted to be added on the front of that building on that side, there is a little bit of space for that with how the curb and gutter is situated as it is right now.
Part of the issue is on that automatic door. If I'm understanding correctly, we've had, because it always seems to occur after hours, we've had the doors will stay open and not shut behind somebody leaving late. Part of that, there's multiple reasons that could happen, but one of the reasons is if you have a heavy storm and things blowing in front of it, those cameras pick that up and then we have to go in and manually reset. Also, another issue that we have is when water, snow, and everything else gets in the tracks for the door, that causes problems. So a vestibule would eliminate a couple of issues.
When you do the estimate, are you taking into consideration county forces doing the removals and stuff?
At this time, the estimate's all based on contract doing it all. So I mean, we can definitely look at.
So if we looked at the county doing the removals of the asphalt, from that perspective in the concrete, that could change the, I mean, it won't be a little bit of a difference. On the southeast corner of the parking lot, there's a light and a box. Are they just gonna stay there or is that gonna be eliminated?
I'm not sure.
Yep, I think that's right
Right there.
right here, I believe. I don't see a reason why that would need to be eliminated, so that could probably stay.
Then are we gonna have a replacement street light on the corner of Washington and Kingston?
Over here, I believe the city plans on having a light up here.
There's one there now, right?
Yes, yep, the city's planning on redoing their lighting. I believe it's in their plan for 2023, maybe 2024. And from my understanding, they're going to put lights back in the similar locations that they currently are.
But by moving that parking lot 6 feet to the north, 6 or 7 feet to the north, we not have to move the light as well.
Yes, yep, the lighting will be moved.
So that'll be our dime to move the light initially.
I guess I haven't talked to the city to see what their thoughts are on that.
Because they're gonna replace it.
Maybe we pay for a little bit of the electrical and they pay for everything else because they were gonna do it anyway.
And when I look at the parking along the courthouse drive, where you said the county employees would park right through there.
This would be county vehicles, so county-owned vehicles.
County vehicles, all right.
Yep, so they're currently.
Is it
parked right in
necessary to
here.
have the sidewalk sticking out? Or can we eliminate that sidewalk and add an extra stall and just walk down the sidewalk? Is there a sidewalk gonna be along between the parking and the building?
No,
Where the
that-
hash marks are at.
I believe that's only gonna be about 3 feet in between, so it gets pretty close there. So that'll be, landscape rock or whatever in there. I would recommend having this sidewalk here, because
I'm
that
not
would-
talking that one, I'm talking the one up above.
on the north end up here.
Either way, whoever parks in those stalls then has to walk out in the street in order to get to a door one way or the other.
Yes. And I would recommend keeping the space that's hatched down below because there is, they do have wheelchairs, strollers, other stuff that goes in and out of
On
Couldn't
both sides, we
walkers.
talked about that on both ends of it. Because of the door to the north,
So you want to have a hatched area here along
Where-
with this.
where you could have, you know, that's access and egress for human service offices. And they're frequently hauling stuff out of their, you know, child seats, a stroller, all sorts of things that they would be potentially putting and loading into their vehicles. So we talked about ramps on both ends so that if they have something on rollers, it's a lot easier for them to push things out.
Just to
That
the,
was our discussion, wasn't it? Right.
Make that change.
just to the north of the vestibule there where the hash mark is, could that be an extra handicap spot? Would that take away from our employee parking? You know, I look at that as being a little bit closer, go up a little bit more where the county parking is.
Yeah.
You have the hash marks.
Commissioner, if we do a vestibule up there,
Oh, up there.
There.
it would
I-
block the vestibule would.
Oh,
There
okay.
wouldn't be a ramp into the vestibule from the north because of the winds from the north. So we were gonna have that as a solid, is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, so up there officially, that would be a handicap accessible stall, but if it's county vehicle parking there, then we won't want to have it used specifically for that purpose.
But it could, yeah.
You'd also have someone that's driving around here, they look up that one stall's full, turn around, go back and all the way back around to here. It's best to keep them together. If we want to have one more handicap stall, I would recommend just putting it right here.
At the same time, that hashing doesn't make any sense up there because it's county vehicles and the people that are gonna be walking with strollers or whatnot are gonna be on the sidewalk. They aren't gonna be coming from. I don't.
Really isn't that much room on that side for accessibility.
No, I'm not talking accessibility. I'm just saying that hashing doesn't have to be there. There's no-
Correct.
Oh,
It doesn't need to be straight with hash.
Is what you're saying.
Just gain a stall. A little bit of green space on the west side and the triangle and the island in the corner, just to satisfy the city as far as having, since you can't be parking there anyways. Makes the city happy. Okay. So we lose the 3 or 4 stalls along Washington Street. We'll gain a stall on Kingston Street where the driveway, second driveway, or the first driveway, however you look at it. So there's a net effect of 3 lost stalls. And we gain. How many stalls?
Yeah, I think the net effect is probably gaining about 6 or 7, maybe 8 stalls total.
So it'll be only one way into it, right?
Only
Off
one
of
way.
Kingston.
Yeah,
Otherwise, out of the big parking lot.
or you go through this area into the big parking lot and out to the south.
What this does eliminate is the non-parking lot traffic that uses it as a shortcut whipping through there.
Oh.
And it's not frequent, but it's often enough that it's sometimes a bit of a hazard.
Post office will be unhappy because they can't stop right there.
Had some,
They just,
yeah, we've had some discussion about,
here.
the county vehicles, usually, if they need to stop behind those vehicles for a little bit. Primarily just impacting, county staff, the vehicles aren't coming and going constantly throughout the day, so they can stop here, unload. Leave, they're usually on there for 15 minutes anyway.
Or less, yeah.
So I can't see it, but on that county, the loop drive of the county, how wide is that piece running north and south?
Over here,
No, running north
Here.
and south right there.
Try to humber there.
There's a number, but I can't.
27 feet face of curb to face of curb. Now, I'll say that with a little bit of caution, because with how the vehicles park in here, the back of the bumper might be a little bit shy of 27 feet. So 24, 25 feet.
There'll be no parking along there behind Norm's building and the
Correct.
beauty shop building and whatnot.
Yeah. And there's not anyway. Don't think anyone ever parks there.
They're not. Some do.
There's adequate number of handicap, the 3, and you said maybe a 4th one could be in that area. If needed, or-
Yeah, we can definitely add a 4th one here if we need another one.
That's what
When you looked at the
Thanks.
there's handicap parking over here too, off the big parking lot south of the building. 3 stall, so you can look at handicap parking for 2 different standpoint. You can look at it from, what it would be if you design the handicap parking for this building. Being that it's not a new building, you don't usually look at that. So you look at how many stalls they have in the parking lot, and the handicap stalls based on the number of parking lot stalls. So 3 is what that number comes up to in the state zoning code or state codes. And then I've also looked at kind of the usage of the current handicap parking, and I think 3 stalls is adequate for most days.
It's not state code, that's ADA. I mean, it's a federal code.
There's Minnesota has not adopted the ADA accessibility guidelines. So in Minnesota, really, it's not a federal code that applies. It's actually some state. Yeah, the state hasn't adopted. So
Other than accessibility
but-
in general.
yeah, but you still try to follow those guidelines, and the states are pretty close to those codes anyway. So.
Okay. So the plans are basically put together. When do you think this would go out for bid so we can actually find out how much it's going to cost?
That's a good question. We're probably a month out before we can get it ready for bidding.
So we could bid it in November when it's early for
Potentially,
people looking to get early work.
although everyone that I talked to, everyone's trying to move up their bids up. So I'm not sure what early is right now. Because stuff that usually gets bid in January, February is now being bid in November. So it's kind of one of these things where I just talked to someone from the state yesterday, and that's what he was saying. Everyone moves the bid up and no one gains. So I'm not sure if we're going to be a whole lot better off bidding it in November than what we would in January, but we'll do our best.
If I remember correctly, the city was going to plan on bidding their project, which is Grove and Marshall,
Yes.
in November. If we
If
did ours in November, we could maybe piggyback to 2 projects.
if we bid ours after the city, then the city's, whoever the contractor is that gets the city's job is going to know they have work there. They might give us a better deal. If we bid before the city, contractors aren't going to know.
Be reverse.
It might be reversed. So I don't think we want to be ahead of the city. Being at the same time is not bad, but then, none of the contractors know, do they have both jobs? Do they have no job? So I don't think we're going to be hurt by being after the city. But we will definitely do what we can to be as close to the city as possible.
Logistics is a big thing. If they know that, hey, we got this out here already, you can leave the machine there for another few weeks to finish up the county job. That's
Do that then as an alternate that this county would remove asphalt and concrete.
We can do it that way.
Also gonna have to coordinate that with the roof bid, RFP process and get the, and
We have to have an action item to do that.
you need to get the RFP. We're gonna come back with the alternate materials on that roof RFP. Everything else is pretty much done. I'm just waiting for that.
I didn't hear you.
RFP on the roof,
I'm talking about the parking.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that projects need to be coordinated so that we don't have
Officers.
the roofers and the,
So we don't want to be tearing up the parking lot, they're gonna be putting roofs on the side and working on it.
that's just a side thought. Just want to make sure that something that I'm thinking about and concerned.
I know this is very premature. Is there thought as to alternate parking during the process? I mean, where are we gonna put our people? Are we gonna start putting our employees maybe a little bit further away so the customers are closer or what? I know it's premature, but
You know, in the past, when we had the parking lot closed down, that is what we did. We had some designated parking on the south lot for employees, and then our employees, we asked them to use street parking. We talked with the bank, but I don't think the bank was interested at that time, as I recall. It's been a few years.
Since we aren't
But
doing
that was
business with
a
the bank,
shorter
I can see where
term
they would say
that we did that, but I recall
could change that.
we've done that in the past.
St. Mary's might be able to work a deal with St. Mary's too, as far as.
So it sounds like we're gonna go ahead with this.
Well, we're getting the information, so. It's a little more than I originally anticipated, I guess.
Well, that's to gain 6 stalls, that's $42,000 a stall. To gain 6 stalls.
You can look at it that way, but you could also look at it as the existing parking lot is in poor shape, needs to be done at some point soon. So even if you didn't readjust the curb line and you left the sidewalk where it's at, most of the pavement is going to be redone anyway at a similar cost, whether you reconstruct or not. Or, move the curb and sidewalks. So
And the drains and.
yep, the drain, if you just left everything how it's currently laid out, you'd still want to probably add a second line in the drain, or at least fix the current drain area. So a lot of the expense you're going to have whether you change the layout or not.
Other than the fact that it's a little bit more expensive than we originally talked about.
Correct.
That's price of oil, inflation, whatever you want to call it. At some point in time, it has to be done. If we're gaining some stalls, we're improving the overall courthouse. And using funding within the future we're gonna have. Kind of makes sense to me to do it.
Are you referring to ARPA?
I'm talking ARPA, yeah.
And also,
Not that
for-
we couldn't use ARPA for other things.
I think that's where I'm coming from is, ARPA money, we should probably be using that so that has the most impact for our citizens in the county.
and the safety issue as well. That's something else, both from a slip as well as from a accessing the building with traffic riding through. I mean, safety considerations there as well that this eliminates.
I guess we've talked about this quite a bit. I've been promoting it quite a bit, so I'm not gonna change my mind as far as whether we should do it or not. It's a benefit to the courthouse, to the public that we serve. And from a safety point of view, I think it's a good project personally. But we all have our own opinions, so that's fine.
when we're fixing it, we must fix it right. Yes, it's a little more expensive than anticipated, but, you can put another layer of blacktop on it and just leave it as is for X number of dollars. Maybe change that full sidewalk for another X number of dollars and have the same old with a new paint job on it. Or we can improve. Look at this as kind of improvement.
So they're gonna do something for the door. That's giving us a lot of troubles.
But the vestibule isn't included in this bid.
That's it.
We could have that as an alternate.
That'd be a different type of contract to do that work, so that's probably a
Wouldn't they
separate,
Get a separate sub that came out.
I think we'd want to keep that as a totally separate bid.
Well, we were talking about spending 400,000 on our roof, and that looks like that's gonna be around 100. Why can't we take 300 of that money and put towards this and keep the ARPA money?
Potential.
I mean, we have some areas that we can work from.
I guess from my perspective, I think we should keep moving forward. That's just me.
Me too. I think we better go on, get some bids in November and
You know, with the climate.
Once we see the bids, we have a better idea of where we're gonna be going. And I think that's what we need to do is go forward and get some plans so we have an idea of what's gonna cost. It might surprise us the wrong way, unfortunately, I think, but you know, we need to have numbers in order to make a decision. We see a drawing here, we see it up there, but we need to have information available to make a decision.
Well, if we can do some of it ourselves, that's a plus. I think we gotta have bids, so we can decide what we want.
Well, I think right now I'd be by consensus to have them continue, and then we'll. So we have to approve the RFP before we can. Focus
So we have to have action to conduct an
as an
RFP,
action item to approve.
conduct an RFP, not to approve the bid,
An RFP is a request for proposal. We have to approve
the
sending out
request
the
for a
request
proposal.
as an action.
You're gonna put that on the next week.
They have anything ready for us to review before we approve.
Consensus is to move forward till we get some figures to go from.
So we've got a plan.
Yep.
For us to approve. Taking an action.
No, we won't take any action, but we see.
consensus.
Just providing for action.
More discussion on that?
Is it next Tuesday you're coming in, Brian, with some more information on other projects? Is that what the
That's
direction
in
is?
2 weeks during the.
2 weeks. During the work group, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Back to that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about this project, or are we done with it?
Would you like a brief update on the restrooms downstairs?
Yes.
Really quickly, it's not on your agenda for discussion. The tile folks are in this week. They have put the leveler on the floor, and I was talking with them this morning. They are installing getting ready to do the install on the tile, so he's here doing that. I was on the phone with Dave Mighty this morning, just getting caught up on various Fowler, where they're at with things. We're hoping in a couple of weeks or less that it's completed. So they have, as soon as the tile's done, they'll come set the fixtures and do that. One of the things that you may notice is that there is no light switches in these rooms, just because they're all, both of them are on automatic sensor. And then, and it appears, it appears it's gonna come in under the projected cost. We'll see when the final bill comes, but that's what Dave and I were discussing this morning. As far as the steps go, they're gonna come back and touch up that railing. If you notice, we've had some paint come off of that. You'll also notice that that archway entrance, we just had that, we did that paint this year, this last week. And then he will recaulk those steps and replace, so that's still on the agenda, replace that sidewalk, that's the northernmost part because that puddles, and I'm assured that will all be done yet this fall. So, and we also have, they haven't provided it yet, but I verified that they will provide us an estimate on doing an ADA accessible door on the restroom up here. And hopefully we'll have that. I requested that a little while ago, but we'll get that here in the very near future. So.
Curiosity question with regard to the restrooms. So it's no switch lights, that's fine, automatic lights. Are they designed with a battery backup, so if the power goes out, you can have a light come on?
Good question. I,
Just curious.
no, I guess that
No,
power goes out, our generator goes on.
Okay.
And
So there is backup that way.
I mean, our generator kicks in. As uncomfortable as it may be not having a restroom light on, I think the bigger issue is our computer systems. And so our generator would kick in, and there might be, what is a 2-second delay or something like that.
Thank you.
I will ask them that though.
What's the estimated project cost for that bathroom? Is that-
For the 2 bathrooms, I think it was right under, it was a cap, if I'm not mistaken, at 50,000 or less. I'll go verify that. We put a not to exceed on it.
long as
And
you're-
tried to use as much of the current materials we had. They've done, if you haven't had a chance to go look, don't step in there because they have leveler all over the floor. But they've done a really nice job of cleaning those 2 up, and they were in tough shape. With minimum, I'll say minimum, in my opinion, Donna may have a different opinion about this, but I think minimum disruption to her office, you know, with trying to keep everything just on that side so people aren't interrupted as they're trying to go in and out of the auditor's office.
So the step part of it is warranty work?
Yep, for workmanship.
Any more questions?
As long as you're up here, I was just wondering where you're at, what's happening with the department head reviews that we've done.
I'm waiting, I've gotten 1 back. I'm waiting to get your reviews back from you.
What happens then? I mean,
Then we will take out all the individual reviews and make sure that all the department heads, they are sent to the department heads with a copy put in the personnel records. Department heads will have an opportunity to respond if they wish. That's all of our reviews are that, whether staff review or department head level. And if there is a concern that if an employee has a concern, then we would be asking for them to have a session with the board.
Same thing.
But
if the board-
otherwise-
Same thing if the board has a concern.
Mhm.
Yeah, if the board wants to have another further discussion. So, and then whatever is signed off, I mean, employees can sign, their signature represents that they may or may not be in agreement, but that they've received their review back. And then they have an opportunity to respond if they wish.
So the
9
concern,
times out
if
of
there's
10,
any,
there's no response.
if there's any concerns in the review that doesn't get addressed, it just, they can agree to agree, disagree. Or Is it good? Is there a
I
follow-up?
guess it depends upon what the concerns are. If you have directions, if there's particular individuals you would like to meet with to discuss performance, whether it's positive, negative, in between, you could call a closed session for continued evaluation of that individual. But I've only received so far from one commissioner. It would, might be if you would like to have follow-up individually, if you'd like to have follow-up with a particular employee, when you bring that in, put the list down, and it's not that everybody has to agree to it. It's just if any one of you wishes, then I'll call a closed session for all of you to meet with that individual.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board updates, board chair. I haven't had any meetings since the last one, so. Let's talk about it. So we'll move on to commissioner reports. This will start with you, Teresa.
I had a long meeting yesterday for WinLAC. Was actually very productive, though. We went through line by line of the 30-some page formal review process required by the state and Bowser in order to get the grant money to move forward. So we approved everything as a committee, policy committee, and it will go now out to state agencies, private agencies for 60-day review. And then after 60 days, we take in any comments we get and from there. And then it goes to Bowser for a 90-day review. So it's basically a 6-month project. After the 60 days, or after it's ready to go to Bowser, we have to have a public meeting, and that they're going to hold the first week of January is what they're aiming for. It was a very productive meeting. We also agreed that after we get through the formal review process, have the public hearings, there will be a letter going to all the county attorneys and city attorneys to form a joint powers agreement so that we're working together and we're covered.
That joint powers, the counties and the cities all together.
Yes.
Is that messy having that many participants in the joint powers?
Cities,
No,
cities involved too.
Well, just the cities that are in the WinLAC region that would be impacted by water problems, like
Crescent
Winona,
Pine.
La Crescent. They didn't mention the city of La Crescent at all.
Okay, so Pine Creek isn't in
No.
the city. Okay.
So
Only cities that have water,
in the
And-
WinLAC region.
like Zumbrota.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's all being drafted by the Winona County attorney, because she evidently did all the ones for the Root River agreements and for the one watershed. She had the basis to start with. It will go to all of us to review, all our attorneys to review. It was a very productive meeting. Yes, that was my big one long meeting.
Made up for all the others. Huh?
All right, I guess it's your turn, Bob.
Last Tuesday night, I had a Selco meeting. An annual meeting for Selco with regard to policies and updates. Not a great deal to report, just a meeting about policies and updates. Yesterday was the Hiawatha Valley Mental Health Board meeting for a 3-year strategy planning meeting. That was my long meeting. That was from 2 until 6:30. About what they plan on doing and how they look to move forward with Selco or with Hiawatha Valley Mental Health. And what's good, what's bad, what's needed. Their big issue is acquiring employees and retaining employees. Being that they are a nonprofit and deal majority of low-income people, their monies that they get aren't like you would see in a private enterprise where the insurance is covering it. This is more MA type situation. So a big issue as far as acquiring employees and keeping employees and how we're going to do that. That was the focus, but a 3-year plan on how to do that. So that takes care of that. We have our Children First meeting tomorrow.
Yep.
From 9 till
First
3.
Children's Finance, the green
First Children's
childcare.
Finance, okay. So that'll be tomorrow's meeting. And like I said earlier, I will not be here all of next week. So that's my,
Have a good vacation.
I will be walking across the meeting.
I don't have anything.
Good. No, not much going on. Again, too many meetings, missed the WinLAC. Yeah,
That's okay. I did put in your name because 2 of us, the Winona County Commissioner Marie, isn't running, so they're gonna have a new person. And then I volunteered that I'm not running either, but that Julie has been following it, so, but we'll have to make that formally.
In Pine Creek there, they're changing the water classification from, I don't know if it's from going from warm to cold or cold to warm.
Warm to cold,
Warm to cold,
that's 12 deep cold water.
so that in turn changes the,
And it is spring fed though.
I think the reason. Yeah, but that changes the tolerance levels. Like, makes it more stringent
tolerance level, meaning like
for nitrates, whatever,
fertilizing,
the silt runoff and all that stuff.
it's more sensitive because of that. Okay, thank you.
Are we having a extension meeting this
Thursday.
Thursday?
Thursday night, it's a Zoom meeting though, because our extension people are in the cities. Lisa and
Rebecca?
Rebecca and somebody else went too, didn't they? Well, I'm sure Katie, maybe not.
Katie, maybe,
I don't, anyway, it is a Zoom meeting for sure. They did send us a link.
Yes, I haven't seen that, but it's possible. I have to look again.
Yeah, we do get a
AMC
confirmation.
Well, we got our AMC meeting on Halloween. in La Crescent.
Yes, in La Crescent. Did we get a confirmation whether it's at 9 or,
7.
it is at 9 for sure? Okay. I just talked to Brad, our director, our commissioner chairman. Anyway, because he called me about the extension. I'm the extension rep for our district. And I did mention that I had talked to somebody who might be interested. Eric, to give out your name. But he
I'm still
also,
thinking.
he will also put it out to all the counties in case there's other people interested that want to apply, and then they will send something to him if they're interested or not. It's an elected thing, so they'll elect.
And are we all going to be going to the December AMC meeting in the cities?
I am so sorry.
So as far as I know, I have.
I'll get a new group picture for my refrigerator.
We know what table to sit at.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
All right.
I got a question for Donna on properties that are behind on their taxes. Have you got that list or?
I we've always got a list on that, Eric. Yes, we've got a list and we just a matter of going through it and starting the process, I guess. I've gotten some calls from people that are taking care of some properties. Some, the banks have been calling me and they are taking care of some. So slowly but surely, some of them are going away, but we've still got a few left. Mhm.
I had a inquiry about one in Money Creek.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird because this is the old schoolhouse property that the county paid for to tear down.
Oh,
And did we have first lien on that?
if you tell me I'll need the parcel number.
I'll come to your office and
Yeah,
tell you that.
you come after the meeting and we'll look into it, okay?
It's actually two parcels. One of them was forfeited, one of them hasn't been forfeited yet. It's grown,
Yeah.
and we have a judgment file with the court.
So that
So
one
if
that,
it's sold, we could apply that judgment.
that one that was forfeited, did that get forfeited to the state of Minnesota right away?
They always do.
Yeah, that's what we do right away.
So that's the state's land now then, or
No.
Oh,
it's still county, or?
It's just how it has to go through the process.
yeah, that's part of the process that we do a deed to the state. And then once it's sold, it goes to the person who buys it. So we change the deed over. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about now. Well, I'll talk to you about it when you come down here if you want me to.
Okay.
Yep.
More questions? All right, closing public comment. Anybody here got anything to say? I guess, Allison, you got anything?
No.
Carol?
Do we have a current list of ARPA?
Can we do that at the work group session? when
Sure.
we Talk about
That's fine.
the information, and that way we can look at the capital improvement funding that we have available and how that can all tie together.
That's fine.
Good plan. All right, I guess nobody else has anything. I guess we could adjourn if somebody wants to make a motion.
So moved.
A motion to adjourn, how about a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.